If you think about it, if you listen to all the health and wellness advice, it takes all the fun out of life. And the point of a wearable like us is like, look, pick the ones that had the highest value for you, whatever that means, right? And it gives you that visibility to make those decisions, right? Because if you listen to, wellness advice, you're probably just eating broccoli and carrots, and that's it. But that's not life.
New choices, new players, new models of care. Consumer first healthcare is everywhere. For us to build the future, to see what's new, we gotta look at the world from a different point of view. Consumer innovation ain't going away. I say it's here to stay. Today it leads the way. We gotta drop the silos. We're all the same team. Experience, business, tech, and marketing. So join us now. Join the revolution. Consumer first health is the evolution. Status quo or like status no. Yeah, this is the healthcare rap. Yo, come on, let's go.
Welcome back to the leading podcast about consumer-centered health. We're bridging the gap between sick care and well care, influencing change in the industry, and empowering consumers by spotlighting cool new ways of engaging in their health and wellness. We're also having some fun along the way. I'm Jared Johnson, and this is episode 450. Today, we have the Flava of the week about the start of season 12 and the launch of our free new online community. How will these two things help bridge the gap between sick care and well care, and how can you become part of the community? I'll talk about that. Then Maz Brumand, VP of Product at Oura, gives us a first-hand look at Oura's approach to fitness tracking, how their glucose and meals features work, and whether wearables are the new digital front door. It's time for the awesomeness, y'all. Are you ready? Let's go.
Flava of the week.
It's time for a new season, a new community, and a whole new commitment to influencing the industry. Today's the start of season 12, and our new theme mirrors the evolution of consumer-centered health that's happening right before our eyes. Our new theme is bridging the gap between sick care and well care. For society to be healthier, we have to get serious about how to prevent disease, not just treat it. Today, there remains an enormous gap between those designing and marketing healthcare and those experiencing it. This season, we'll continue to bridge that gap in order to drive change. We have two big goals here. First, to influence healthcare leaders to offer more consumer-centered products and services, and second, to inform everyday consumers about those products and services. We're building on the themes of season 11, where we asked guests about healthcare adjacent areas, things like sleep, exercise, fitness, metabolic health, nutrition, mental health, and more. Now it's time to dive deeper on the preventive side, inviting more wellness and preventive subject matter experts to join us. So what can you expect? I'm excited to announce that the first half of our season lineup includes senior leaders from Oura, Noom, Withings, AliveCore, Superpower, Advocate Health, Electra Health, and so many more. Including more consumer health thought leaders in our mix of guests demonstrates where we know the conversation needs to go, directly to consumers who are trying to navigate their health. Topics will include the new digital front door, consumer digital health products such as wearables, connected fitness, at-home testing, weight loss, and longevity. We'll also continue to include the health system perspective, from direct-to-consumer preventive and wellness offerings to functional and integrative medicine, and of course we'll keep talking about digital consumer engagement and life beyond the legacy digital front door. And we'll always save room for notable non-traditionals, digital health and consumer brands making waves, and new entrants making a splash. Starting today with Maz Brumand from Oura, season 12 will be our most impactful season yet. Today is also the official launch of the Healthcare Wrap online community. It's an evolution of the Consumer First Health Group, an organic online community that has held monthly think tank chats since 2020. We now have an online home, and it's free to participate. Go to healthcarewrapcommunity.com and create your free account. That's healthcarewrapcommunity.com. Now, you may be asking, why a community? Why now? Well, in order to bridge the gap that we mentioned between sick care and well care, we need to be coordinated and intentional, leaning into new ways of connecting and educating one another in a time when trust is scarce. We have to invite people to sit down at the same table and see one another. We have to invite diverse perspectives and avoid siloed discussions. We have to stop compartmentalizing our work in healthcare from our own experiences as health consumers and patients. Members of this community are uniquely positioned to influence change by understanding both perspectives. We have to stop talking about sick care and well care in two separate spaces. Consumers don't see it that way, so neither should we. We have to evolve the ways that we connect. Not everyone catches every episode of the podcast, and not everyone's able to attend a monthly call. Plus, we need to actively fight misinformation and provide direct access to healthcare leaders to hear straight from the source. So we've created a safe space to gather and a trusted source to learn from. Bottom line, we've heard you loud loud and clear that you need a place where you can learn, network, be inspired, and be a part of something that's bigger than yourself. You need to be a part of something that can push for radical accelerated progress, or RAP. It's a big day for us, and we can't wait for you to be a part of what's coming next. You belong here. Welcome aboard. Join the new online community at healthcarerapcommunity.com and stay tuned for season 12 of the podcast as we work together to bridge the gap between sick care and well care. That's another big way that we'll build the healthcare of tomorrow, and that's the Flava of the week. Hey y'all, I'm here with Sina Arham, founder of Friday's Health. Sina, what do you think is broken in the traditional approach to metabolic health, and what are you doing to flip the script?
Let's be honest, the moment in metabolic health is being driven by the GLP-1 receptor agonist class of medications, right? We finally have something that is addressing metabolic health, obesity, and type 2 diabetes in an elegant fashion, right? It's efficacious, it's manageable for patients. And so I think we're having our moment in metabolic health in that the old guard of tackling metabolic health and obesity has a lot of stigma attached to it, a lot of shame and blame and guilt.
Thanks, Sina. Visit joinfridays.com for more information and tell them you heard about it from the Healthcare Rap.
Healthcare Rap is sponsored by Cyril. Whether you're trying to drive patient volume as a healthcare provider, boost membership enrollment as a health insurer, drive improved adherence rates in pharma, or deepen strategic B2B partnerships throughout the healthcare ecosystem, Cyril can help you with your go-to market efforts and growth targets, enabling you to reach the clinical and financial goals of your healthcare organization. For more information, go to Cyril.com. That's CYRALL.com.
The flow.
All right, everyone. Hey, let's get into the flow. Very excited to kick off season 12 with our guest this week. I'm here with Maz Brumand. He's the VP of Product at Oura. We're going to dive into some relatively new features of the platform and of the product. And I really want to hear a couple of things here in particular. And I think they're going to be super interesting for you as our listeners as we really dive into what's coming, like where these signals of new product features are headed and kind of what led to them being incorporated into a platform that was already like very successful and very cutting edge. So with all that, Maz, welcome to the Healthcare Rap.
Hi, Jared. Pleasure to be here.
For those who aren't as familiar, maybe you can give a quick 2-minute introduction to who you are and what you do.
I'm a VP of Product at Oura, and what that really means is I'm helping create the software that would pull together our software experience with our hardware and science to help our members live better longer.
And what was your background before Oura?
I spent a few years in the startup world. I had my own company, and previous to that, I was at a company called Levels Health using glucose monitors to help people understand their health. And prior to that, I spent about 9 years at Apple building new technologies, including a lot of it in health.
Fantastic. I think probably a good place to level set our conversation today is just to remind folks that we had Holly Shelton and Jason Oberfest from Oura on a few months ago. And I thought that was just a great foundational conversation because what we took out of it were a number of things, a couple of which were the evolution of the discussion of personal health data above everything else. How this is a quickly evolving conversation. It's not just about capabilities, but like that's the basis of what it enables an informed health consumer to do with the data. So I'll keep that in mind, but there are a couple of particular things that we want to talk about. Speaking of evolutions, there's been an evolution of Oura's platform, and you're moving into it's stepping into metabolic health here. So maybe you can give a quick rundown of what that looks like and why is it happening now?
Yeah, that's a great question. When we think about product, we think about, does this need to exist in the world? Do people actually need this? The second thing we think about is, do Oura members uniquely need this, and can we uniquely help them? And when we look at those two things, when we look at the world, we see that 9 out of 10 adults are actually metabolically unhealthy. And when we look at our members, we see that 7 out of 10 are really interested in this space and really want to learn more and improve their metabolic health. And then the question is why? What's the underlying reason? And the underlying reason is because metabolic health is foundational to our health. If you think about it, every single of our 37 trillion cells use metabolic processes to basically turn food into energy. And when this goes dysfunctional, a lot of things start to happen, anywhere from really feeling energy and how your relationship with food could change to chronic diseases that us at the societal level, like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and a host of other things. And when we think about it, it's the world needs it. Our members want it, and we can uniquely help. And if we fix it, it can actually be a huge impact on the world. The last thing we think about is why Oura? Why can we do it better? Or can we actually meet this need? And we think about that as metabolic health is really impacted by a lot of things. It's a functional metric, so which means your sleep, your nutrition, your stress levels and your activity is really impacted. And that's what Oura really shines, which is how can we bring these four pillars together to give you the understanding of how your behaviors are impacting your metabolic health and what are the things that you can do on a personal level based on your metrics. And I think that's where really we think our ability to help lies.
So let's talk about these two new features, meals and glucose. Let's start with what they are and how they work.
Yeah, maybe starting with meals. We really thought about this and said, how can we actually improve the value we're giving to the members for the least amount of effort? So everything we designed was based on that. And when we thought about it is we wanted to make the input of food frictionless. And we do that through an image capture, or somebody can enter it or use their most recent logs. And then based on that, we will give it an AI read to interpret it and turn it into, first of all, a human readable text that tells you things about your food to really take that to a very easy to understand layer. And then we'll give you details on that food to see what's your level of fiber, what's the level of protein, what's the level of fat and carbs and added sugars, to really help people understand the different pillars of how the food they eat is composed of. And then finally, if you have a CGM, we'll show you if that food caused you to have elevated blood sugar, which we'll talk to in the glucose feature. But really the point of that is to give you awareness. Does the pattern that the food that you eat, is it normal for you? Does this thing take you up and keep you up there for a long time? Or does it look like consistent with where your health is at? And so that's the meals feature. The real intent of that is to create understanding for people, because that's the thing you take away. Once you understand, you no longer need to take on the effort of logging your food. So our goal is really understanding. I think a lot of apps out there are focused on accountability, meaning like I want to measure my calories and I want to track it day over day. And I think what we've seen is that's not a sustainable experience where, because the effort stays high and the value goes down, eventually people fall off. And also actually the accuracy to do that calorie deficit, which more people are actually going after, is very hard to actually have accuracy on. Really our focus on meal was around helping you understand your choices so you can make better choices instead of actually tracking calorie deficits. The second piece that we really focused on was glucose. And the reason for that is we really believe on biological feedback as a way to personalize. And we really wanted to create a feature that helped you understand how your behaviors affect your glucose, which is one of the key markers for metabolic metabolism. And the way we thought about that is really in three layers. One is, can we actually visualize for you, going back to that understanding your decisions, how your glucose is impacted by your four behaviors? And my favorite is, I know that when I have a meal and I have a walking pad under my desk and I start walking while I'll take a meeting, I see my glucose slowly and gently come down, or it prevents me to stay up for a long time. That's been a life changer for me. It really actually gives me that confidence that actually that walking pad under my desk is actually helping me regulate and stay in line. Or other things like, I know when I eat late, my glucose is super variable overnight, and then my sleep score actually comes down significantly. So these things actually visualize for me how my behavior is impacting my glucose and how that makes me feel. It's connecting those things together. The next layer after the visualization is actually being able to contextualize this. And we have this concept called time above range. And we are not focused on did you spike or didn't you spike. We want to show people their patterns. Did this meal actually cause me to go up and stay up? Or, hey, I just eat anything and I'll just stay out for 3-4 hours. They're giving me that insight that, hey, there is something to pay attention to, whether on the meal side or on generally my health side. And that's really our focus with time above range. And then finally, we actually give you, again, another human overlay using AI to help you understand the relationships between your behaviors and your glucose patterns. Again, try to make it in a way that whether you're a person that just wants to read in human, you can. Whether a person you need numbers, you can. All those layers talk to each other.
It's amazing. And then, so there's an additional layer here, which is connecting to a continuous glucose monitor. In this case, there's the ability to connect with a Stelo, so Dexcom, one of Dexcom's monitors here. Can you describe how that works?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually, maybe rewinding. We partnered up with Dexcom using the Stelo biosensor. And the idea here is that You wear a small sensor on your arm and it measures your glucose and it lasts for 15 days. And effectively, we're taking that signal and we're creating the experiences we just talked about around glucose, combining it with our biological metrics from the ring that measure your sleep activity and your stress. And Stelo is the first over-the-counter CGM, which means that anybody can purchase it without a prescription, which was a huge unlock for access and affordability. And we're really happy to partner with Dexcom to bring that to our members.
Hey y'all, I'm here with Jessica Holton, co-founder of Ours Privacy. Jessica, how do health systems know how much marketing data to track?
Know what you're optimizing for. We see and hear about a lot of teams that are tracking everything they possibly can, which you would think is more info is better, and we can make more decisions if we have more information. But actually, it just sends more data that is potentially PHI, and you have less control over it when you're tracking everything. Instead, choose 1 to 2 key metrics that you are tracking and focus on those metrics.
Thanks, Jessica. Visit oursprivacy.com for more information and tell them you heard about it on the Healthcare Wrap. As I've been experiencing myself, just kind of test driving it, the features are pretty straightforward. The experience itself, I have felt a sense of I can do this on my own, right? Like I'm on a health journey myself. I'm trying to better understand my own health data. So it's been great to be able to test drive it and see it feels doable all along the way, as opposed to just being told, like we all know, hey, in general, yeah, get more exercise, eat right and things. But there's this whole different experience. And it's not only less discouraging, it makes you feel empowered that like this is possible. There's change possible here. So that's been my experience so far. And I just thought I'd point that out. Is that the type of feedback that you're getting from other users? Or like, what do they say as you're like, hey, here are these new features. Here's what you could do with it.
Yeah, I think there's one product principle we think about a lot and we get feedback from our members is a lot of us just do stuff, but we don't know if it's working, right? I could do a million things, but I don't know what's the right thing for me. I usually get something maybe from a friend or social media, or maybe I read a research report, but I don't know if that's for me. And when I do it, there isn't a clear visceral feedback for me to know if it's working. And I think what Oura does is effectively shine light on that. It helps you understand that the behavior you're doing actually having a positive or negative impact on your physiology. And connecting those two things is really important. Because I could do many things. I may give up my favorite food, but I don't know if that was right for me. And I think what CGMs and other technologies enable is to say, focus on the things that have the biggest impact. And when you look at the things, you can pick and choose which ones you want to do based on your preferences. For example, for years, I ate oatmeal for breakfast. For years. And I thought it was the most healthy thing. I didn't eat it because I love oatmeal. But then the first time I put a CGM on, I saw this massive increase. And this is quite common actually for members. And I was like, I don't even like oatmeal, right? But this thing is, first thing in the morning, I was eating oatmeal with skim milk and a pear. You think about that combination, that's a lot of carbs in general. First thing in the morning, which what it was doing when I saw the pattern, was it was taking me high up and then crashing me right around 11 or 12. And I always thought the crash was because I worked out too hard in the morning. And I always had a hard time actually keeping my body calm unless I worked out 2 hours at the level that I wanted to. And when I made that small change, which it was actually, I didn't like oatmeal. I preferred to eat something like yogurt with some nuts and seeds. Like that's what I would have preferred. And that easy change didn't take away anything from me. And it materially changed my energy levels and it materially changed my body comp as a result of that one small change. I really hope that when members look at their behaviors and decisions they're making, they can understand it and then make the choice. Like, do they want to change it or they don't want? At least they know the impact of that choice on their metrics and their health.
I would believe that's not uncommon. Those types of insights that you think, hey, in general, yeah, this is better than, I'm eating better than this other thing, so it's probably cool. But to see things in real time, near real time, I'd consider it. That's one piece of this. The other piece is when you very first described these features, you talked about the thought that can go through someone's mind of like, is this food normal for me? It's the whole thought of like, we all know the principles. If you're an adult, you've been taught what's good for you, what's not good for you in general. The fact of what you can just measure yourself and say, okay, regardless of all that, the fact is, here's how something is affecting me, my body, my health. And I can do that with enough accuracy, with all the accuracy I need to be able to make a change. Are there patterns emerging already from anyone using these new features yet? Or are there just thoughts of like, hey, these are like early surprises in how we're seeing people engage with these new features?
Yeah, that's a really great question. What we see early on is that, the age where people are most engaged with us are between 35 and 44, and followed by 45 and 54. And it's largely female. So that's interesting, right? It's a stage of life when you kind of see things slow down and your hormones change and you're looking for a solution that's not a one size fits all. Because if you're a 40-year-old female, you're very different than a 22-year-old male or a 67-year-old female. So we kind of see that at these points of high uncertainty and change, especially if people tried a bunch of stuff, we see that those are people that actually gravitate toward our solution because this feels like N of one, it's for me, versus all the fads that you may have or may have not tried and may or may not have worked. And I think so in that stage of life, we see a lot of engagement. And when people see these aha moments, like, oh my God, I used to do this and I thought this was great for me, but I just learned that it's actually the opposite. Those are what really makes me and us happy because we're like, that's exactly what this technology is for. And if you think about it, if you listen to all the health and wellness advice, it takes all the fun out of life. And by the way, you're going to spend 24/7 doing that, right? And the point of a wearable like us is like, look, pick the ones that had the highest value effort ratio for you, whatever that means, right? And it gives you that visibility to make those decisions, right? Because if you listen to wellness advice, you're probably just eating broccoli and carrots, and that's it. But that's not life. And so it gives us that value to effort ratio decision and self-efficacy.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way, but it's so true. Like if I want to find more information, I can find it, but it just takes there's that little translation layer of like, I should be eating healthier. So yeah, you're right.
And also it carries across not just food. This is what's magical about it, is it carries it across the other ones too that are also time consuming. Should I go for a walk? Should I go for zone 2? What is zone 2? Should I go for interval training? Should I go for zone 4? What is that? How does it change it? Like now you can see the patterns that you're looking for. If you do high intensity for 10 minutes after a meal, what does it do? If you do low intensity for 30 minutes, what does it do? So you can optimize what works for you. Same thing with sleep, right? Should I eat too close to bed, too late to bed? Is it heavy? Is it not heavy? What is heavy? You can actually see it. You can experiment with that and see what works for you. So you can start optimizing these things again with that base of like, what are you willing to do? And it's the least amount of effort and has the most impact on your physiology.
Exactly. Well, that leads my train of thought to this piece, which on the show, we've talked about different definitions, like from the health system management side. You think about what they refer to as the digital front door, which is, just all the digital initial access points to any, in their case, a point of care. So ultimately scheduling something or engaging with a provider, right? And there's a whole side of healthcare that's devoted to what that digital front door looks like. But I can really see, I've been describing this whole platform. Could this be, I guess, the new front door? Like, could this be the thing that engages someone in their health in an actionable way that leads to the outcome that they want? Because that's ultimately what in healthcare, that front door is leading to, engaging with the provider to accomplish that. What are your thoughts on that? Is this maybe not just Oura, like we can even just say like wearables in general, like this current generation of wearables, could it become that way? And then if so, like who owns that relationship?
I think we're just starting to knock on the front door, to be fair. And we're probably one of the only wearables right now that have partnered with a Medicare Advantage provider and plan. And so we're thinking deeply about how do we not just be a tracker, but how do we are the company that help bring that insight and help you make decisions about your health. And when you need it, connect to the right care. Like we're thinking about that whole chain, really be able to help people. And if you think about that relationship, there's always this idea of, can I be proactive or can I learn about the things that I may have? And if I have it, what can I do about it? Right. And so we're working a lot on helping you understand your health. So you know whether this is normal or not normal. And then if it is something that you want to help will work on, you can. And if you want to connect to care, you can. Like thinking about that whole journey and making sure that we provide the information, for example, that we have on you and you want to share with your providers. You can do that in a way that will help the member and the provider make better decisions faster. And once they make that decision, treatment decision, they can actually see whether it works or it doesn't work in their data. So closing that full feedback loop. So when we think about the front door, digital front door of health, is how can we increase that access? And how can we actually do it in a way that leads to better decisions and actually can see the effect of those decisions. So A, the patient stays adherent to the thing that they work with their providers. And then 2, can actually see the better outcomes visual for them. So if we're thinking about all that, and we're thinking in the context of not just wearables, but how can wearables help the member have a better interactions with their care providers?
I think that's one reason why we're going to be talking about this for a long time, this whole approach to health and understanding things, because now it is so much easier. Is there like a metric or an insight, just something, maybe it's not even related to any of the things we've described here, these new features, for instance, but is there just something that you come across that you're like, hey, there's something that people should care more about when it comes to their health, but maybe they just don't even think about it or they overlook it? Is there something that just kind of keeps coming up?
We think about behaviors like, how am I doing on the things that I should be doing? And then we think about physiological metrics, how are those behaviors translating to your health? And then out of those physiological metrics and behaviors, when you want to work with a provider, like what's the thing to care about and what's actionable? We've obviously partnered with clinics like Maven to think about women's health a lot. And so if I see something in my metrics that I want to talk to a clinician that's focused on women's health, can I do that with data informed? So I don't show up and pull up my app and say, hey, I'm seeing my sleep disruptions. Be like, is this normal? How can we actually transform this data in these critical stage of life for this critical customer profiles to actually be able to have a good conversation with their physician, be able to make the decisions they need to make about their decision. And there's a host of stuff, right? Like your sleep pattern and architecture matters, your glucose patterns matter, your fitness and VO2 max matter. And so when you're going into these conversations, being armed with the data that's relevant for your stage of life and need, and being able to have that objective conversation with your clinician. And once you make that decision, whether it's lifestyle or medication, you can actually see whether your metrics are improving, right? So if you went to a clinic and they said, we really want to prescribe this thing or this lifestyle, and the end goal is to see your sleep architecture disturbances, duration, REM is showing that this is working, they can then track that. And I think that's the power of this platform.
Perfect place for us to wrap up. Just one more question for you, Maz. Personally, what gives you hope for the future of healthcare in our country?
There's this amazing time in history where we're moving from episodic acute care to something that we can detect stuff, whether it's large data sets that are captured by powerful sensors with a new model that makes sense. That we're at this point that we can be preventative about things that you don't notice because they're asymptomatic. And we can notice them, and we can notice them early, and we can intervene with lifestyle and clinical help way earlier before they manifest into system dysfunction. And what makes me really happy is, can we prevent that stage of life for many of our members, at least to the latest possible, so they can have this great health span years where they can spend with their kids and their partners and with their friends doing the things they love. And that's what really makes me happy, is getting ahead of it, helping people live longer and happier.
One quick thing related to that, which is you mentioned the detecting things that you might not notice otherwise. A couple of weeks ago with my ring in the app, I just gave me a quick little with the advisor feature, just said, hey, by the way, hey, we've noticed in the last couple of weeks, your average heart rate is just a couple ticks higher than normal. Didn't know if there's anything else going on in your life. I had started a new job 2 weeks before that. It detects things, and it wasn't like, hey, we're not going to wait until it's 15 to 20 ticks above normal. It's like, hey, just a couple, and just wondering if there are other things going on in your life. Just, are there things that you'd like to, but it offers even like the chat functional just to input. And I did. I'm like, yeah, actually new job 2 weeks ago. And it was like, cool, great to hear that kind of thing. But it's real, like this, and it's not just waiting for something big to happen. So it was so encouraging and validating of like everything here. So yeah, it's been a pleasure, Maz.
We're just getting started.
Yeah, truly. Well, I want to thank you for your time to share all this with us. It's truly a remarkable platform. We are just at the beginning here, but I want to thank you for being on the show today and for everything you're doing to make healthcare consumer first. Thanks again.
Thank you, Jared. And same to you for raising awareness and sharing this knowledge with the world. Thank you.